later.
Huh? All right, hey there, welcome back to TwinStick Garage. Look at that paint job, isn't it awesome? Well, to be honest, it's actually not. I know it looks great in the sun. I mean, look at that metallic, look at the pearl, just gorgeous. But then you try and look at the sun there, and it's just a orange peeled mess.
Brother,
So, in full transparency, because the clear coat is lacking transparency, I have been struggling with this. So I gave it all the way in the last episode and painted this truck. I put the base coat on. The base coat turned out just mint. But then when I got to the clear, I had a couple of headwinds against me. The first one was I was tired from already putting a whole bunch of coats of base on there. And then the other challenge I had was I only had 1 gallon of Big Sky Montana clear coat. So when I put on the first light coat, I realized that I had already used almost at least a third of this, and I only had about 2/3 left. So I thought, okay, I'll be able to put on 1 more heavy coat, which is what I did, but it wasn't even that heavy a coat. I was still just doing 50% overlap, trying to stretch out the paint or stretch out the clear coat to get it to cover the entire truck. So in hindsight, I should have had 2 gallons of clear, because then I could have laid it on heavy and then maybe even followed up with a 3rd coat, so I had something to work with when it comes to cutting and buffing it and sanding it down and buffing it out, which is what I did on Snowman. Now, unfortunately, C-Max was closed Saturday afternoon by the time I realized this, and then I wasn't able to get another gallon of it until the Monday. So by then it had already hardened and I was screwed. So I thought, okay, well, let's pivot into the old cut and buff. So then I started doing all kinds of things, just like I did last time on Snowman. I was wet sanding, and I got just like the wool buffing wheel that I used last time. And then I got a random orbital to polish it out. And I thought, okay, I'll just lean into it and fix it up as best I can. So I worked really hard on sections like this, which actually turned out nice. I mean, you could see the reflection. You could see the words there on the liquid ice. But then if you get off, you can kind of see some of the scratches that I left there. And it's not bad, but it's not great. You can still see some orange peel there. And that's after doing multiple rounds of wet sanding, and then of 1,000, then 2,000, and then buffing it out. And I'm not happy with it. I worked too long and too hard on this truck to leave it in a half-assed paint job. And I know I've got to come to the realization that I'm obviously not a professional painter. I'm a DIY hack when it comes to painting, but I couldn't leave it like this. So I've actually made the decision to start over. No, not necessarily start over, but to say, you know what? I've got to redo this clear. I think that's going to be the right way to go here. So what needs to happen is I need to actually sand it smooth. Now there's a thing that they call, I've been doing a lot of research on this, trying to learn as much as I can, and they talk a lot about flow coats. So guys on old hot rods or really nice cars, show cars, they'll spray their 2 or 3 coats of clear, and then they'll sand that down, and then they'll put 2 or 3 more coats of clear on top, and they call that a flow coat. Now it's funny because the guy at C-Max goes, flow coat, what the hell is that? I never heard of that. But basically I'm putting clear coat on top of clear coat, and I hope that this works. But the challenge is I got to get rid of this orange peel, because I can't just put more clear over top of this orange peel, because if there's more clear here, I'll never be able to sand that down and solve this and get it as flat and shiny as possible. So I need to actually sand this whole truck down, which, I mean, I'm not really sanding it all off. I'm just trying to get it flat. So I'll show you what I'm talking about up here. And I know I'm blabbing a lot, but I'm trying to give some background on what I've been up to here. So been trying different things, scuff pads. I tried these guys. These were 1,000 grit sponge pads. And then I put an 800 grit on there. Just trying to see what works to get that dull look. So this here is good. This is ready for more clear coat. But this here, you can still see. So orange peel is basically, like a mountain range. So you got to get your peaks to to match your valleys. So if I just put clear coat on that, I don't think it'll necessarily flood in and that'll shine through. So I still got some more work to do. But essentially, like I say, I gotta sand the entire truck down by hand because I don't dare, well, I may on some spots. I tried the orbital. Oh, I'm gonna fall here trying to get off here. So I tried the orbital on these smaller racks where the air cleaners go. And yeah, I did the orbital on this one. And it worked okay, but then I was going on a nice slow speed, wet sanding 800, but then I kind of caught the edge here and I got some burn through that I've since touched up. So I'm a little nervous here. I kind of got myself in a bit of trouble, but old TwinSticks, he never gives up. And I don't know if it's resilience, persistence, or just stubbornness. But again, I've come too far to leave this in half-ass paint. So my goal is gonna be, like I say, to scrub this thing down. And with any luck, Sunday's supposed to be like 10 above Celsius. So hopefully that's warm enough where I can actually have my fans going and lay down. I got 2 gallons of clear this time and just lay down a light coat as my glue and then really lean into it and borderline runs and see if I can't get this right. Okay, in the interest of time, I think I might try is the DA with the 800 wet on the roof cap here and see how that works. And if I don't get any burn through, maybe I'll have enough courage to try it down low. Now again, I'm just going at a slower speed and I want to keep this thing very flat. I don't want to be going up on no edge and none of that, because again, there's only one thin coat and then one medium coat. So there isn't a lot of mils of clear coat on this. So burn through is a real risk. I mean, I've tried to think that what I could do here 6 ways from Sunday, but I think this is just going to be the best path. Best path is to actually flatten this all out. There, now the one nice thing about wet sanding is I don't have to worry about inhaling all the dust. So that's refreshing. So I don't have to wear my half mask. And as you're sanding, you want to keep stopping and kind of gauging the progress. So dry out all the water. This is just a pail full of water with dish soap in it. And take a look. Yeah, still gonna need some more work. Oh boy. Got yourself in a big pile of beans, boy.
Yep.
Oh yeah, and the other thing I forgot is an interface pad. So just a foam pad to go on your DA, just to make sure, because it'll go over the contours a little better and less chance of cutting in. So yeah, try something like that. Much better. So now I'm just following up with a 3M gray scuff pad. And these things work quite well to not only scuff up the shiny, but also if you use soapy water, they actually help to grab some of the dust and hold it in the cloth there. And this is what I'm also gonna have to use, because I'm gonna have to be so damn careful going around all the huck rivets, because if you get the orbital anywhere near those huck rivets, it'll just take the paint right off. So this is gonna have to be a very delicate process. Again, I'm just trying to get it as flat as I can before I put that next coat on there. So let's see how this is looking. Well, that's looking pretty decent. If you can see that there. Yeah, that might accept some new clear without being too cruel. So you know what's really interesting? As I go to sand this down in preparation for another layer of clear coat, I just realized that I got this really, really, really flat. I wonder if it would buff out. I mean, because this looks, I was watching the old TwinStick Garage video from a couple years ago when I did the snowman roof cap. Maybe I just wasn't sanding it enough to get out all the orange peel, and that's why it was still turning out like garbage when I buffed it out. But now that I'm getting this flat, I wonder, it would sure save me a hell of a lot of time and stress not having to paint it again. I may just give this a go and see if I can buff this out, see how it looks. So So first up, I'm just gonna clean the wool pad off. All the crusties from me trying to buff it out the last few nights. Okay. And then this is the same stuff I use on Snowman. Liquid Ice Advanced Polishing System. Safe and fast. Removes P1200 and finer grit and sanding scratches. So, what I was doing with this stuff, come on, something like that. Huh. Boy, if I can get away with just buffing this truck and not having to, well, I'll still have to sand it all down, but not having to clear coat it again and then likely still have to buff it after that. That would be pretty cool. Come on, there it goes. So this is pretty common to have to do what's called a cut and buff. So the cut is basically the sandpaper, and you want to try and get it to like a, well, you work your way up. So I just did this in 600 and then 800, and I knocked all the high spots off the clear coat, basically the mountain range of orange peel. But then if this works, what I might do is do that everywhere. I was worried there wasn't enough clear coat on there, but I was using 600 and I didn't do any burn through, at least on the flat spot up here, or the flat part up here. So theoretically I could use 600 on the rest of the truck, do 800, 1,000, 2,000, even 3,000, and get it all kind of sanded down and then just buff the whole truck. Maybe we got a winner here, folks. Maybe old TwinStick's, the trucking gods and the trucking universe is being kind to him. And I won't have to actually respray the whole truck. I mean, worst case scenario, I guess I could just leave it till the spring, sand the whole mess back down and start over, but I'm hoping it doesn't have to come to that. Now this is the rotary. This is the one you want to use for the cutting. So basically this stuff here is essentially this liquid ice. I mean, you can get 3M products as well. Think of it as liquid sandpaper. And then the wool pad's just kind of grinding it in and smoothing out what's left of the clear coat to bring that shine out. And as you see it kind of render to a gloss, it's almost like magic how that works. Now this won't be the final step because you can get swirl marks or just kind of see trails of where you went with this. The key is laying it flat. But I do have some swirl marks on Snowman that I got to address. And the way you go about fixing those up is, you can kind of see the trail there. The way you go about fixing that is using that random orbital, that other tool I picked up, because it's just like the DA. It just kind of goes in an oval, or an ellipse, I guess. It just doesn't spin in a circle. It spins in a circle and moves around. So it helps to eliminate that. Now this is turning out not too bad. I could see lots of scratches because again, I was only 600, 800. But what I could do is sand with the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, work my way up, and I might be able just to save this paint job. Well, what a treat that would be. Old TwinSticks is due for a win. Okay, let's see how this is looking. New cloth. My squeaky platform. Okay. Well, that's actually looking pretty damn good. Shows when you get your clear coat flat. Now, of course, it's still got the scratches because again, I only went to 600, but the shine's sure coming through. Oh, well, I guess that's good news. Maybe I don't need to respray. Let me think. Well, I guess I could continue sanding the whole truck down because that's inevitable. I'm gonna have to flatten this Orange Peel Mountain. And then once it's all flattened down, I can decide, do I want to buff it or do I want to throw more clear on? Oh man, this is just a ton of work. So, as you saw in the time lapse, I had to, if I catch, so right now this is 600 grit dry, and if I catch any of the hucks, I instantly take the paint off of it. So I gotta be ultra careful to not get too close. So 600 dry, flatten that out. Again, I'll have to up it to 800, and then maybe 2,000, and then maybe even 3,000. 2,000 might be good, and then buff it out. But now I can't get the orbital in between here without hitting the hucks. So now I have to do a little bit of hand sanding with one of these sanding pads. I mean, if this truck was just completely flat and didn't have all these hucks, I could just give her. But yeah, this is gonna take a little finesse. But it'll be worth it in the end, right? You know, as I was sanding and trying to avoid hitting the hucks and taking the paint off, I thought, well, Mark, why don't you put a piece of tape over them and protect them? So yeah, I think this is a smart deal here. You know, there's just not a lot of videos out there of folks doing cut and buffs on semi trucks. So old TwinSticks has to come up with his own innovations. But I think this will work good. Better to protect them than to have to repaint them later, right? Actually, coming out with protecting huck rivets 2.0 here. So I realized that when I put a long strip of tape, I can't get in between. So now I'm just putting little squares. And thinking about it further, I should almost go to Staples because I think they have little round stickers that I could just toss on there. And then it would just cover just the huck. But this will allow me to at least kind of get the sander as close as I can. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to sand every square inch of this truck to the 600, but I'm gonna just do my best with it, like I always do, and try and get this orange peel flattened out. Yeah. All right, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of keyboard cowboys out there going, "Oh, 600 grit's too rough. You're gonna burn through." And it is. You do need to do this with 600 because if you don't stop moving and you stay too long on one spot, there definitely is a possibility of me burning through to the paint, which would be a bad day. But as long as I keep moving, it seems to get it smooth. And you can see as I'm sanding, you can kind of still see where the valleys of the Orange Peel mountain range are, and they still need to be taken out. But then if you do it right, it should be nice and smooth like that. That will buff out, as long as there's still some clear to play with. So I'll just keep grinding away here. Another tip is stay away from your edges. Any edge like this, if you touch that with the edge of a 600, you're gonna burn through and you'll have to touch it up. So, I mean, I'm not obviously gonna be able to get in between every huck. So when I polish it out, at least the larger portion of the panels will be hopefully like mirrors. And then this spot will be a little not quite as much of a mirror. and then a mirror again. So it's not going to be perfect everywhere because of the hucks, but I'm doing my best. It's a slow process, just slow and steady, and going through 600 grit pads like shit through a goose, but it's going to happen. I'm going to get this truck nice one way or another. Oh. Okay. Time check. This 2 hours. So you can't rush this at all. This takes time. Now, obviously 600 grit. I'm knocking down the mountains. I'm trying to get this nice and flat and matte finish, kind of like it looked when I first put on the base coat of this metallic blue. Now from this spot, now that I got the mountains knocked down and it's flat prairie land, now I can take 800 and all I'll have to do is try and take the 600 scratches out of it. So I won't have to spend as much time knocking down all those hills. And then I'll go to probably 1500 and then 2000 and try and get this. Basically what I'm doing now is I've got it flat, but I'm trying to get the scratches out. So I'm gonna keep progressing up in number of sandpaper, which is a smaller, finer, smoother sandpaper, which will give a smoother look here and get all the scratches out of there. And then after that, it'll just buff out nice, but this takes a lot of time. And you don't want to rush it, because you start trying to go fast, start turning up speed, start going to lower grits than 600, you're gonna burn through, you're gonna catch edges. So it's just, it's a good learning for me too, because this is my punishment for being a horrible painter. Maybe next time I'll watch a few more videos on how to clear coat properly. I've already been watching some. I think one of my mistakes was, now again, I said I didn't have enough clear coat to kind of get around the whole truck, so I was going on a little thinner. It's actually quite thick, so I guess my second coat was pretty heavy. Maybe it was too heavy and that's what made the orange peel. But I think I had my gun a little too far away. I probably should have been in a little tighter for clear coat, and yeah, maybe a higher end gun might have helped as well. But hopefully on my future projects, so I'm gonna paint the Trans Am, Buford car, the cab over, the Iron Duke, and then of course the too much sanding dust in my brain, Pork Chop Express. So I'll have a lot of practice or a lot of opportunity to finally get good at this and not have to spend hours and hours and hours sanding down a crappy paint job. So with that, I guess, and I'm not too sure on the tape. I mean, I was still trying to be cautious. Maybe that was overkill. I probably don't really need it. I don't know if it really saved anything, saved any nicks, may have saved one or two. But I noticed the sanding disc could still get underneath the tape because it wasn't perfectly taped down. So I may forego that. And kind of like when you're painting a bedroom, you kind of go close to the baseboard and you just kind of go slow and steady and straight. But yeah, now I guess I'll take a break from DAing and try and hand sand some of the insides here. But yeah, it's gonna get there. I think I may be able to, I mean, we'll see. I'm probably gonna miss my window of being able to put a float coat of clear on here, because that's tomorrow, and I haven't finished sanding the truck yet, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to today. So I guess I'll sand it down, and then I'll probably try and buff it in the next episode and see how that turns out. And if it's terrible, then sand her back down again and then clear coat it in the spring when it finally warms up. But if it's good, then I can start putting the chrome back on and put this truck back together. Fingers crossed.
You got plenty of room. Come on, lady. Come on, pass. Come on by. Lord, she won't The hell does she want? All right, all right.
Open up!
What do you want?
Open up, damn it!
It's open. What's the problem, lady?
Are you Mike Catton?
I cash his check.
Let me ride with you. I'll explain the deal.
When you get off work, I remember now you owe me one, and one more couldn't hurt.
Hey, Ma, you're more than 5 minutes late.